So, welcome, 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 welcome to the show. You have a question, Mesa. I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Maisa, yeah. Hi, Devon. I'm so happy to be on the show. I have a question. I recently got my Scrum certification,
Hmm.
and I got a job offer as a Scrum Master. So I will be joining a new team as a Scrum Master. What are the first things or first steps that I can do to, build a trust with my team, I guess, and motivate them in the future?
Okay, that's a good question. Um, the first thing I would say to you is there is a guy, he's another certified Scrum trainer. He goes by the name of Michael James, and he wrote a Scrum Master guide. It's a little guide that gives you tips on what you should do beginning as a Scrum Master. Okay. And in that guide, it has questions, things you should think about, all kinds of stuff like that. If I go to the basics of you going into a brand new environment, you're brand new to the culture, you're brand new to the team, you're the outsider at this point, then what I would say to you is get to know the team. As a new Scrum Master, it is your job to basically make sure people are kind of doing Scrum. Help them do Scrum, enable them to do Scrum, support them in terms of doing Scrum. But you're the outsider at this point. And in being the outsider, one of the biggest things that you need to do is just kind of start getting to know the individuals on the team. That team has, if you have a team that already existed, they have a history. And one of the things that you want to do is definitely respect their history, respect the things that they've been through, because if you don't, that can cause bigger issues. Now, I remember when I first started at a company, and I was a contractor coming into an organization that had 15 other coaches that existed that I assumed was more experienced than me. Pretty much what I did is I came in and I ran a sprint zero. Now, what is a sprint zero? A sprint zero is preparation for sprint one through N. It's really all it really is. Preparation for sprint one through N. You will get into a sprint zero and you will do the things to help you get set up, like understand your definition of done. Work with the team to make sure that that happens. The organization might have some requirements for you. So the organization might have some documents that they want you to start filling out, like a design document. They may even want you to do some semblance of a requirements document or build some plan. You can actually start these things in Sprint Zero, and start these things so and then you can actually begin that process of getting things ready and queued up to start Sprint One. Um, Also, that product backlog and the building of that product backlog becomes your biggest thing. One of the things you want to do is that very first sprint, you want to try to get things as ready as possible in that product backlog for you to be able to commit to enough items for the team to be able to move forward. So a lot of times, even if I'm starting on a Monday and I'm actually going to get the team going on a Wednesday, I will start off with that sprint zero, and then for a couple days just start getting everything together, so and then we can have a good start or a good sprint planning. Having a good sprint planning is actually going to help you moving forward because that's going to give you an opportunity to get to know the team and build trust with the team. Now, in building trust with the team while you're in sprint zero, I would definitely recommend that you do some team building. Uh, Play some games, get to know them better. Maybe have, a time frame where you can have an activity that's not necessarily associated work, where you can actually get to know the individuals that exist on the team. If there are other scrum masters in the building, if there are other project managers, other process kind of people, I would be asking them about the culture and what kind of exists in the culture, to get an idea of what I should be doing, whose toes I'm stepping on. I also want to get an idea of the political landscape. The political landscape is going to be something that you will probably have to navigate. So I would definitely be working through that and doing all these things just to kind of get myself started, just to kind of get the team going, just to kind of get the team ready. Now, you can run into some resistance, no question. You might be the one that's coming to a team that is not so keen on Scrum, or you might have an individual that is a tech lead or just a leader in general that had a bad experience with Scrum in the past. You're gonna have to find ways to deal with that, address that, and then if the team hasn't been trained, I'm going to train them. I'm going to give them an idea what Scrum is and how we should move forward with Scrum. Make sure that we all have the same basic understanding. Now, I want the same basic understanding because it's really hard for me to hold people accountable to something I that we all think of a little bit differently. You don't know what they know in terms of Scrum or what they've been trained before, or the organization may have certain specific things that they want you to do related to Scrum because everybody's doing Scrum, but so it becomes that time for you to kind of get yourself ready, get yourself started, so and then you can start moving toward that place where that sprint, that very first sprint is going to be amazing. So a good example is this show. This show, in order to prepare this show, we actually started off with a sprint zero. And then we jumped into sprint one, sprint two, sprint three, sprint four. But after the show, after we did all the setup and we had our first show, we actually started our sprints. So we had a sprint zero for about a week or so. And then we had our sprint one last Wednesday. And that sprint one is going to end this Wednesday, and we'll start sprint two. But we were doing things to pull together the basics of what we needed, like getting more volunteers for the show, making sure we had some product backlog items to work through, understanding what the DoD is, getting some of the processes together, and these kind of things we will continue to work through, right? So we're doing all these little nuanced things to actually help us prepare for that very first sprint. So for me, I'm also going to take time just to really get to know people. I'm really going to get to know people. The best thing you have in your corner is going to be the individuals that exist there. And getting to know them is going to help you tremendously every single step along the way. So these are kind of the first steps that I would take. So Mesa, is that any other questions in terms of that? Does that help? Because that gives you an idea of how to kind of start moving forward.